Hey, how you doing? It's Tom Breeze here, founder of tombreeze.tv and the Video Marketing Blueprint. And in this video, as you can see, I'm in the office and in my casual attire, and that's because I've been planning many different videos for my upcoming products on tombreeze.tv. Here, there's my little plug for you. But the reason I showed you that is because I've recently got a comment from Andy and Heidi on Facebook. I've been interacting with them and there's been some fantastic conversations going on about online video marketing. And they pulled up on something that I hadn't included in the product. So I want to say thank you to Andy and Heidi for bringing this up. And as a result, I'm creating this video to help you out as much as possible. And obviously, what I'd love you to do is go onto this video and like it if you do, leave comments and interact with me, because I'm doing this all in one take. There's no, there's none of this kind of editing, etc., or kind of starting all again. I'm doing this all in one take. But here's what Andy and Heidi had to say. They said, look, Tom, one of the big problems for us is scripting. And if we write a script, how to read and talk looking into the camera at the same time. Should we have a script directly above the camera? And how can we do this outside? Or if we film outside, should it be unscripted? Does this make any sense? Question mark, and then a smiley face. Well, thank you very much, Andy and Heidi. Really good of you to prompt me on this, and I thank you entirely for that. There's many different ways you can look at this, and I'm sure people agree with me, people disagree with me. I'm going from personal experience from having done over 5 years worth of video online. Now, when I first started out, I actually learnt the script that I wanted to say. It was an opt-in video, a conversion video, and it was the only video I had at the time. So traffic was coming out at the time from Google AdWords. That was my main way of getting traffic, and now it's video, funnily enough. But when I first had that video, I was sending loads and loads of traffic to that video, and people were converting on a massive scale as well. I mean, previously I just had some sales copy, and I was okay with sales copy. I was getting a better conversion rate than most. As soon as I had video, it increased by over 3 times, which is unbelievable. Such a big revelation for me, and then I've continued to improve upon that. But that first video, I worked out exactly what all of the gurus were saying, specifically kind of what they were doing as they were going through the video, and I basically just mimicked what they were saying and turned it into what my viewers were looking for. So, for example, I'd have my script out and I'd say that's what I specifically want to say, and it was about 1.5 minutes worth. And because it was such an important video, I actually learnt the script for it. It took a bit of a time to get used to that. I'm not an actor, so I'm not used to learning scripts at all. But it's great because then you can actually concentrate on the rest of what your body's doing in terms of your hand movements and where you're pointing on the video, all that sort of stuff can come into it as well. So one way is actually just to learn your script, and that's an effective way of doing things. That said, if you're like me and creating oodles of video all the time, just like now, then what you're going to find is that it's not always easy to learn thousands of scripts because you just want to get video done and get it out the door very quickly. Now, saying that, when I've learnt the script to begin with, it was very, very helpful because you learn all those little sound bites that you might use that allow you to then go on to create other videos and almost rely on the fact that you know what you're going to say next. Does that make sense? So it's almost like something in your mind, you'll say, if I need to describe something, I've got my way of doing it every single time, however the words just change ever so slightly. So you get used to learn how to create your communication. So learning a script can be useful because you learn little sound bites that you can continue to use all the time. For instance, and we won't go into a huge amount of detail this right now, there is another video on YouTube which I would suggest you go and have a look, and that's about communicating on camera. There's a format system that I use, and if you're into NLP, which I know that a lot of you are, then NLP is a fantastic communication method, or tool I suppose. It's one of the tools is the format system. And that's where you go through 4 points, and they are why you're doing this video, why it would be important for the viewer to listen in, and you might pull on their pains and problems. You do the what, so all the information, the facts, the details, etc. You go through the how, and the how is that, how do you do what you're talking about? Give them examples, give them case studies, run through examples. Rather like a Camtasia video would be brilliant at that point. And then you'd also have the what if. And that's the final point where you say, well, what if you do this? How much easier will it be for you? What will this mean for you in the future, in the short, medium and long term? And that's something just I've learned in my mind, and that really helps with my communication because every time I create a video, I know where I'm going next. So I hope that helps as well. I mean, if you get some core structure in your mind, you'll find that you won't necessarily need to rely upon notes all the time because you'll know where you're going next with your video. So, as you may know, I'm actually in the what section at the moment and going through a few ideas. First of all, learning a script. Second of all, going through those points in your head, that simple structure. But when you're getting started, then there are some other things you want to consider. One which you alluded to was to have notes and put them in front of the camera. Now there's one thing that I've recently downloaded on the iPhone 4, not that I've actually used it yet because I haven't found a need for it just yet, but it might be helpful for other people. It's an app called Prompter, and it's available on the iPhone or on the iPad, and in fact it will actually, well, I'll explain a little bit more about it first. What it does, you can actually email yourself or text yourself the script that you want to say, and as you go through it, let me try and bring it up as we go through, you would, it's trying to find out where my prompts is going onto the internet. But what will happen is you have your scripts and it comes up like this, and hopefully you can read that. It says 3, 2, 1 counting down, and then what will happen is it'll go through the script that you've got, and it'll go through in the pace that you're used to, so you can actually change the pace, so the words will come around and you can actually talk to the camera. And what I like to do, especially with the iPhone 4, because it's got a flat bottom, you can stick this like this, hopefully you can see this on the camera, and then you'd have your flip camera above it, and you can just about see the script and the camera at the same time. And so what will happen is, as long as you're far enough away, they won't see your eyes scanning the words at all, but it means you can just talk to the camera with the script going on all the time. That program is called Prompter. Obviously with the iPad and the iPad 2, if you've got that as well, you can actually get that and have it onto a stand, for example. I sometimes do this with my laptop if it's an exceedingly long video, or if it's for a corporate client where I don't necessarily know the material that well and don't feel comfortable talking about it easily, then I'll typically use something like a prompter because it will just help me out a little bit. If you go to the real nth degree on this, you can get the mirrored background where the camera actually shoots through the mirror, and then you can actually play this back on a reverse angle. So it means that it will show a reflection of what it really looks like. So when you put it through a mirror, it'll actually come up so you can read it, plus you're reading straight into the screen, but the camera's behind the screen. So it means that you don't even have to move your eyes anywhere because the camera's straight on you, which is obviously another great thing to do. So you can do that. Another way of doing this, if you don't want to invest in a pro prompter or anything, let me just bring this computer around. What you can do is you have a similar thing. Go from bullet points if you can, and I would recommend that anyway, even with the pro prompter, go from bullet points, not a script, because otherwise you tend to read and you lose a connection with your viewers. What you can do here is you stick your, you might have a PowerPoint behind, and you have a clicker in your hand, and you might have a camera here, and then in the background you can have your PowerPoint slides coming up with just maybe 2 or 3 words, are nice and big, so you can read them from quite far away. Click the clicker quite subtly in your hand, as a result it'll move on to the next slide and you'll be prompted to what to say next again. That's another thing you can do. And so just think of innovative ways that you can start creating videos, plus making sure you use your flip camera or Kodak ZI-8, whatever it might be, with your laptop. One thing to bear in mind, if your laptop's anything like mine, as soon as it starts to do 2 or 3 things at any one time, it starts to make a hell of a racket with the fan. Now if you've got a flip, that can be a problem because it will pick up the sound of the fan and it sounds awful. Audio is probably one of the most important things with video, not the video itself, interestingly enough. So if that's the case, what you want to do is try and get an external mic, like I've got right now, just doing it into a dictaphone, but as I use the external mic, what you'll find is that then you don't actually pick up the sounds from anything else because it's just my lapel mic here, and as a result you're picking just my voice up, not all the surrounding sounds. So that allows it to just pick up this sound and not any whirring or anything like that from a computer. Plus, if you're, the camera that I'm filming you on right now is the Lumix GH2, which is a camera that's very, very good, but with the telescopic lens, sometimes you can hear it automatically go in and out. Again, that can ruin the audio sometimes as well. So if you are thinking about audio, I always recommend go with a lapel mic just because it makes it a lot easier. But going slightly off track here, we want to keep on the script. You can see how easy it is to go off track here with video. Anyway, so that's one way of doing it. One way is learning, one way is going from bullet points, one way is using your computer. But here's the real killer one. This is the one you probably want to do more often than not, which will really help you become a better presenter as you go forwards with creating online videos. What you want to do is do what I do with the 4 points in your head, the why, what, how, and what if. But here's the trick. What you want to do, again, record the audio separately and have your camera rolling all the time. If you make a mistake, don't worry. All you need to do is just go back about, let's say, 10 seconds worth of where you made a mistake. At that point, you had a pause, and then carry on from where you left off, but 10 seconds before where you left off. So what will happen as you're recording, you've got kind of the bits going along here that you're thinking, yes, that bit sounds good. You make a mistake, then you're going to carry on with the film, carry on with the audio, but just start about 5 seconds earlier than where you left off, and carry on from where you left off. So you kind of overlap your language a little bit. Because then, when it comes to the editing, what you're going to want to do is quickly zoom in or quickly just change the slide ever so slightly, just with any editing tool. You can do this on Movie Maker or iMovie, etc. And what you do is, obviously you've synced up the audio and the video together, but what you want to do is, when it comes to that point where you've made a mistake, obviously delete that bit out, but you've overlapped with your language and your communication anyway, so you stick the bit where you want to stick in again, so it seems seamless, but then you just jump to that position as well. Now, I hope that's made sense. If it doesn't make sense, watch this video again, and hopefully you can make some head or tail of it. If not, leave comments below this video, and we'll get back to you very, very quickly as well, because this is something that plagues a lot of people. But the idea is, if you make a mistake, don't worry about it, keep the camera rolling, keep the audio rolling, and then just carry on from about 10 seconds previously before you made the mistake, and then keep the camera rolling. Because what you'll find when it comes to the editing, you can just sync them in, delete the mistake, delete the bit that you kind of had the pause almost before you carried on with the communication again, and you can actually make it look really seamless as long as you kind of zoom in at that point. This is a really, really valuable tool if you find that you make mistakes on a 10-minute video, for example, which is really frustrating because you think, well, what am I going to do now? I'm going to shoot it again? Probably not. Or if you do, you're going to take 3 or 4 days to make a video. So instead, what you want to do is just carry on filming and then shoot, kind of just edit it, do an editing job as opposed to the whole shoot again. I hope that makes sense. I hope that's been really helpful for you, Andy and Heidi, and others who are watching this video. As I say earlier, if you do have any questions on this, please look below this video, fill in your comments and fill in your questions. I'll be more than happy to help out in any way possible. And I look forward to speaking to you very soon. Thanks very much.